Reducing consumption of salt-preserved and sodium-laden processed foods is a vital and often overlooked strategy in cancer prevention, particularly for stomach cancer, which has been consistently linked to high salt intake. While salt itself is essential for life in moderate amounts, the problem arises when it is consumed excessively, especially through preserved meats, pickled vegetables, instant noodles, and many types of packaged or canned goods. In populations with high rates of salty food consumption, such as in parts of East Asia, stomach cancer prevalence tends to be significantly higher. This link is not coincidental. It's deeply rooted in the biology of how salt affects the stomach lining, bacterial growth, and cellular repair mechanisms. One of the key reasons salt-preserved foods are harmful is that high sodium concentrations can directly damage the protective mucosal lining of the stomach. This mucus layer serves as the first defense against harmful agents, shielding stomach cells from acid, bacteria, and physical irritation. When repeatedly exposed to excess salt, this barrier becomes thinner and more permeable, making the underlying cells more vulnerable to injury and inflammation. Over time, this chronic irritation can lead to gastritis and promote mutations during the repair process, setting the stage for the development of gastric cancer. Moreover, salt can enhance the colonization and virulence of Helicobacter pylori, a bacterium widely known to cause stomach ulcers and strongly associated with stomach cancer. Pylori infection alone is a major risk factor for gastric cancer, but when combined with a high-salt diet, the risk becomes significantly greater. Research suggests that salt upregulates the expression of certain bacterial genes that make H. pylori more aggressive and damaging. In other words, salt not only weakens the stomach's defenses, but also empowers the very pathogens that exploit those weaknesses. Salt-preserved foods are also problematic because they often contain additional carcinogens formed during preservation. For example, smoked, cured, or pickled meats can contain nitrites and nitrates, which can convert into nitrosamines in the stomach, compounds with well-established carcinogenic potential. These chemicals can directly damage DNA and interfere with normal cell replication, making their frequent consumption a significant risk factor, especially in the context of poor gut health or prolonged inflammation. However, reducing salt doesn't mean sacrificing flavor or satisfaction. There are many ways to enhance taste naturally while minimizing health risks. Cooking with fresh herbs, spices, garlic, lemon juice, and vinegar can create complex, vibrant flavors without the need for excessive salt. Reading nutrition labels is also a powerful tool. Many processed foods contain far more sodium than expected, and being mindful of this can help make smarter choices. Swapping processed snacks and instant meals for fresh or minimally processed foods, such as steamed vegetables, grilled fish, and fresh salads, can dramatically reduce salt intake without compromising on enjoyment. Additionally, fermented foods that are lower in sodium, like fresh yogurt or miso used in moderation, can support gut health while providing flavor. When pickled or preserved foods are consumed, it's wise to pair them with protective ingredients like cruciferous vegetables, green tea, or antioxidant-rich fruits, which may help counteract some of the oxidative stress they create. The goal is not total avoidance of salt, but rather thoughtful moderation and balance, especially for those with a family history of gastric issues or cancer. The good news is that reducing salt intake often leads to a cascade of other health improvements. Blood pressure normalizes, kidney function is supported, and cravings for overly salty foods begin to fade, making it easier to enjoy the natural flavors of fresh ingredients. Over time, the palate becomes more sensitive to subtle seasonings, and meals become just as satisfying, if not more so, than their heavily salted counterparts. Ultimately, cutting back on salt-preserved foods is a simple yet profound way to protect your digestive system, support cellular integrity, and reduce cancer risk. It's a choice rooted not in restriction, but in refinement, a way to cultivate both culinary pleasure and long-term health. By nourishing the body with care and awareness, we reduce the internal friction that breeds disease and create conditions in which life can flourish, quietly and powerfully, one meal at a time.